Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are doing well this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Ms. Bridgewater, good afternoon. Let's see, when is the SAP reset date?
February the 11th.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And let's see, as soon as everyone gets on, we'll be ready to start. Let me just go ahead and speak with everyone there in courtroom 2 and ACDC. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We are providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. Let's see, I know that we have Ms. Chancey on. Good afternoon, Ms. Chancey. I take it that we have someone who requires an interpreter this afternoon.
I believe it's position 15, Your Honor.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Chancey.
Good
Thank you.
afternoon, sir.
Okay, and where would you like me to start this afternoon?
Can I do position number 4 so I can get him back to medical? He got to see the doctor.
Okay, and where is position number 4 in courtroom 2?
Yes, sir, he is.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon. Mr. Hayes, you have been charged in case 25 CR 000418G with theft by shoplifting. Let's see, who do we have on from pretrial? Oh, Ms. Bostic.
Good afternoon, Judge. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you're as well.
Judge, in regards to Mr. Hayes, he has 2 open theft by shopliftings. One in Atlanta, one in DeKalb. His most recent arrest was theft by shoplifting, 11/20/24, 41 cycles, battery, family violence, and 22. Some old felonies. He has at least 5 felony convictions and a couple of misdemeanors. Nothing further.
Does he have any convictions for theft charges?
There's some old ones, I think, but not theft by shoplifting, just open theft by shopliftings.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, Ms. Tucker.
Good afternoon. The state would be requesting a $2,000 good bond in this case with a stay away from the Walmart at 844 Cleveland Avenue in East Point. That's based on these 2 prior theft by shopliftings were very recent. The one in DeKalb was as recent as November 20th, 2024. The theft by shoplifting out of Atlanta was September 29th, 2024. So just a few shopliftings within the past few months. That's borderline a spree of shoplifting. The facts of this case, he went in with an old receipt, picked up all the items on that receipt, and then returned them for store credit. Then he continued shopping, grabbing even more items, and passed the point of sale with those items. So very just blatant shoplifting, as well as his history. We would ask for a $2,000 good bond with that stay away.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Good afternoon, Mr. Chitaya.
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow. My client is 46. He has been a lifelong Georgia resident, and he's lived at his current Atlanta address for the past 11 years. My client informed me that he has been undergoing dialysis treatment for kidney failure for the past 11 years, and for that he receives disability checks. Despite his condition, I believe he continues to work for a company that is called Pool King and Company. It's in Athens. He's worked there for the past 14 years. And there he remodels and builds swimming pools. My client also has 5 children. The oldest one is in the Navy and he's 28 years old. And of the other 4, the youngest one is 13. And my understanding is that my client regularly sends them money. Given my client's lifelong ties to Georgia, his strong work history, and his costs for dialysis treatment, we request a signature bond.
Okay, he doesn't have any recent theft convictions, so I'm going to give him a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. He's to stay away from the Walmart on Cleveland Avenue, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Hayes.
Next, you have position number 3, Ms. Brown,
Okay,
and that's Attorney Rockwell, client.
all right.
Is that Miss Boswell?
Yes, this is Miss Brown. Is that your client, Miss Rockwell?
My client is Miss Boswell, Tiffany Boswell.
And who is this that we have there, Officer Milton?
This is Brown. Let me come back.
Okay. Is there a backup? I don't have a Boswell on my calendar for today. Was there a add-on
Oh,
calendar?
I hope she wasn't on the 11:30 calendar. They
I
told
don't
me she
show
was at
Boswell
2.
on-
Miss Bridgewater?
I do not show this person, Boswell.
That's the 11:30. I will call you, Miss Attorney Rockwell.
Oh, okay. Is that for today at 11:30 or tomorrow?
Let me call you, please. This is position number 9, Miss Pfeiffer.
Okay, so Miss Rockwell, hopefully you can get that cleared up with Officer Milton.
Okay. Can
Okay.
do I need to sign into the felony?
I think she's gonna
Okay.
call you, Miss Rockwell. Okay. And this is position number 9. Good afternoon, Ms. Pfeiffer. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000423D with battery, family violence, and reckless conduct. Is there a history?
Good afternoon, Judge. Just for the record, I'm Noah Pines. I represent Ms. Pfeiffer.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Pines.
This is
Yes,
number
Miss-
9.
Position number 9, Ms. Pfeiffer.
Okay. I'm sorry, Judge. I was looking at the other calendar for Miss Rockwell, and Miss Boswell was number 19 on the felony calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Defendant has no prior arrest history, Judge. If you choose to release her through pretrial service, if you choose to release her, we suggest you are jail.
Okay. Yes, Miss Allen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. We're asking for an SOB through pretrial, no violent contact, and a 1-day anger management course. This is an incident from the 15th of January. Is that
25th.
correct? 25th of January at about 5:15 in the afternoon. Officers initiated a traffic stop after seeing the defendant in front of you repeatedly strike the individual driving the vehicle they were in. His name is Christopher Lochner. They're married, but they do not currently live together and have no children. The defendant made admissions on the scene. She's charged with reckless conduct for almost causing a car accident as a result of that behavior and for causing a visible injury to Mr. Lochner. He's on the Zoom if you'd like to call for him. Thank you.
Okay, if Mr. Lochner is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. If you, of course, do not have to, but if you wish to, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
Yeah, I just would like to tell the court that the incident that happened, we were driving, essentially we were having an argument. My wife slapped me once. I essentially pulled the vehicle over to the Chase parking lot to diffuse the situation. That is when the officer pulled in and essentially got out and then placed my wife under arrest. I went to the officer and let it be known that I didn't want to press charges. I didn't feel essentially any threat. I don't feel any threat to this day with my wife being in public with her or anything like that. I pleaded with the officer and the supervising officer that came by that essentially at the end of the day, it was just an argument that we just needed to sit down and cool off. And that's what I tried to do. Unfortunately, as the victim, I didn't want to press charges, but it was kind of taken out of my hands.
And I take it that this has not happened before?
No,
And
no,
you
sir.
wish and you wish to have your wife at home?
Yes, I wish to be in full contact with my wife as soon as possible.
Okay, very good. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Mr. Lochner.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Pines, any objections to any of the state's requests?
Judge, I don't think you can UJR her on a battery charge anymore. So, and I don't think she needs pretrial supervision, as pretrial said. So I would just ask for $1,000 bond total, 500 on each. That would obviously be through a surety with no violent contact. And my client, her parents are on the Zoom too, just in support, so you know.
Okay, very good. I am going to send her through pretrial though for the battery. It'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the reckless, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Lochner, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Ms. Pfeiffer. You as well, Mr. Lochner. If nothing further, you're welcome.
Thank
If
you,
nothing
Your Honor.
further, Mr. Pines, do you have any other cases on my calendars this afternoon?
I do not. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, for the Spanish interpreter, does Mr. McLean need to speak with his clients with Madam Interpreter prior to a hearing?
Yes, I was on here for the case for Zayshawn Barber.
We've not gotten to that case yet, ma'am. We'll be with you. Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor, I need to be in a breakout with Mr. Velazquez and Ms. Cheney.
Okay, and Mr. Velazquez, he's in the courtroom with you?
Yes, Your Honor, he's right behind me.
Okay, so I'll place you into a breakout room with Madam Interpreter in courtroom 1. And Ms. Cheney, please. No, we have not called for Marion Green yet. Okay, who do we have next?
Petition number 3, Ms. Janicia Brown.
Good afternoon, Ms. Brown. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000417A with battery family violence. Is there a history?
Judge, in regards to Ms. Brown, only prior arrest is an open case out of the DeKalb for battery family violence from August of 23. Nothing further.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, as well as no further violent contact with victim Errol Johnson. I'm asking for a signature bond through pretrial, as well as that $2,000 amount based on the history. She does have a pending, it's not a conviction, but there is a pending family violence charge out of DeKalb. The facts of this case, she pulled her boyfriend's hair so hard it ripped multiple locks from his head. They were found sprawled across the apartment when the officers came. We did speak with Mr. Johnson in this case. He let us know that both parties were drinking, that nothing like this has ever happened before, as long as with him, and that he wants contact and wants her to return to the residence. I believe he's on the Zoom, Mr. Errol Johnson.
Yes, he's here. I see his name.
He indicated he would be here.
I'll give him the opportunity to speak when you're done, Ms. Tucker.
This is Errol Johnson. I'm here. I couldn't find how to unmute my phone.
Okay, hold on for you, Mr. Johnson. Are you done, Ms. Tucker?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, if you can activate your camera for me. Oh, there you go.
Oh, you
All
can see
right.
me now?
Yes, I can see you, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Can you raise your right hand for me, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. What would you like to tell the court?
I mean, just like the lady said, I would like it to be still in contact with her and, want to work things out with her. My locks, they were kind of loose in the back. So, I mean, even though they did come out, it's like, I don't feel threatened by her or, feel like this is anything that's going to continue to happen.
Okay, and the case that is in DeKalb County, that with the allegations, that's not with you, that's with somebody else?
That was with me, but like I said, it's, I don't fault her. It just so happened to turn out that way. But I feel like I'm just as much at fault. So, I mean.
Okay. Ms. Tucker, do you know what the, I take it that you don't know what the order, says with the DeKalb County case?
I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm only requesting the signature bond because of Mr. Johnson's, presence and statements. But based on now finding out that he was the victim in that case, I would ask for $2,000 good bond. I'm
Okay.
not aware of the terms of the bond in that case.
All right, thank you. Mr. Johnson, thank you for being
Well,
here.
can I say one more thing about that case? I wrote a character letter for her and like stating that, the same thing. I didn't want to press charges. It was a situation that got out of hand and got taken to that point. So, I mean, I think that's why it's still pending and it's probably going to get thrown out.
Okay, but you can understand my concern, Mr. Johnson. You had a 23 case where you had to call the police and it ended up with a battery family violence charge. And now, again, you're having to call the police and it ends up with a battery family violence charge.
Actually,
So,
I never called the police. They were called. I didn't call them.
okay, well, regardless, there was enough of a ruckus going on that somebody called the police that thought that somebody needed some help. And normally people don't call the police unless they think that it's out of hand. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here, Mr. Johnson. Is this your case, Mr. Chataya?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So, wait, so is it 2,000 SOB or 2,000 good bond that's being recommended?
She's requesting a 2,000 good bond now.
Okay, I understand. Ms. Brown is 32, Your Honor. She has lifelong ties to the state of Georgia. She moved to Atlanta last October. My understanding is she has a bachelor's degree in communications with a concentration in public relations, and she was one semester shy of obtaining her master's in business administration at Kennesaw State University. She currently works as an event manager for the city of Stonecrest and has been doing so for the past year. Before that, she was an event manager for Ford. And all told, she's been an event manager since at least 2013. So, Your Honor, we request a signature bond. However, if the recommendation is to have no contact or to stay away from the incident location, I already reached out to Ms. Brown's father and asked if she could stay with her parents if there is a stay away order issued by this court. I was informed that her parents live in Decula, Georgia, which is not very far from here, so she would have a place to stay if she were let out on bond.
Okay. And just so that I make sure that I've addressed Ms. Brown, you've been charged in case 25 CR 000417A with battery family violence. If I did not say that earlier on in the presentation. Ms. Brown, given that Mr. Johnson's been here and testifying on your behalf, it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Johnson, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, I'm going to give you another opportunity, but if you come back before me again, you won't get this same opportunity in the future. You understand?
Yes, sir. You'll never see me again.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Tucker?
Yes.
Okay. Good luck to you both. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Who do we have next?
Position number 8, Ms. O'Keefe.
Good afternoon, Ms. Aki. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000414Y with 2 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
No prior arrest. If you choose to release her, we suggest UJR jail.
Yes, Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 26th. We're asking for an SOB through pretrial, no contact with either victim, and an anger management course, as well as no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Police were called to 291 Upshaw Street Southwest on the 26th of January at about 5:30 in the morning. Latasha Kimbrough was the mother of this young woman. She reported that she and her daughter had gone out to celebrate their birthdays. And then when they returned home, her daughter assaulted her. She ripped mom's hair out and then struck her, causing a visibly busted lip. The defendant's brother, Stephen McDonald, was called and he came over to assist. He said when he arrived, he saw the defendant, his sister, assaulting their mom. He tried to break the altercation up. And instead of that being successful, the defendant assaulted him. He saw he had scratches and visible bruising on his chest as a result of being struck by her. We've spoken with both Mr. McDonald and Mrs. Kimbrough today. They're requesting no contact. We're asking for a stay away order and we're asking for that $3,000 at least SOB through pretrial, Your Honor.
Thank you.
If you would call, Mr. McDonald is not present, but I believe her mother, Mrs. Kimbrough, is here on the Zoom.
Ms. Kimbrough, if you're with us and if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity. I'll need for you to unmute yourself and activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in if you choose to be with us this afternoon. Okay, it does not appear so. Mr. Chitaya?
Sorry, is this?
This is position number 8, Miss O'Kee.
I'm not sure if this is my client, Your Honor.
Okay. So I take it that it might be Mr. McLean's case. Is that what you're telling me?
I think so.
Okay. Let's see. I'll let Mr. McLean know. Wait. I'm going to give her, based on what I've heard, and if there's no objection from Mr. Chitaya, I'm going to go ahead and give her the signature bond. It'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 on each charge. Makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Kimbrough or Mr. McDonald. Stay away from the Upshaw Street address and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. I will sound for Mr. McLean and see if he has any objections when he comes back with us.
Next, we have position 15.
Judge, what's that total again? 3?
So no, it's $2,000 per charge, makes for a total of $4,000.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, would you add that the defendant needs a one-time escort to get some of her things from the property if there's anything there?
Very good. One-time police escort to retrieve any belongings if necessary.
Thank you.
Yes, who do we have next?
Position 14, Ms.
Okay.
Thomas.
That's Mike.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon, Judge. That's my case, Thomas.
Okay. All right. Let me get there. Yes, good afternoon. Ms. Thomas, you have been charged in case 25 CR 000-426H with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history?
No prior arrest history, Judge. If you choose to release her, we suggest UJR jail.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. And her co-defendant is her husband, position number 16, Mr. Wallace.
And who represents Mr. Wallace?
I'm guessing that's Mr. McLean.
Okay. Let's go forward with Ms. Thomas for now, and we'll just have to come back.
Thank you. Police were called on the 26th, Your Honor, to North Camp Creek Parkway. That's 3791 North Camp Creek. Police were called to the location because the victim, her name is Rachel. I'm going to spell her last name. Hopefully I don't mess it up. Ongunremi, Ogunremi, Rachel, called the police and reported that other individuals living at the location were being violent. Essentially, the co-defendant, Mr. Wallace, in position 16, was highly intoxicated and was repeatedly banging on the door of that young woman's bedroom. I'm not sure if this is a rooming house. Perhaps the defense can assist us with that.
It is.
Police came to the location multiple times, gave verbal directives for Mr. Wallace and his wife to stop their behavior, and they weren't adhered to. When they returned, the defendant in front of you and her husband, her co-defendant, closed themselves in their bedroom and refused to speak to police or answer the door, knowing that they had been told to leave the young woman alone, stop the behavior, and that police were now returning to the location because of the continued issues. The defendant in front of you tried to prevent police from arresting her husband, and she refused to open the door, refusing verbal commands. We're asking for $1,000 SOB through pretrial to stay away from that location and have no contact with the victim, Rachel. Again, Ogunremi is her last name. We left her some messages this morning and haven't heard back yet, but just in case, if you would sound for her. Thank you.
Okay, if spell the name again for me, Miss Allen. I'm sorry. Pronounce the name for me.
I know, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No.
It's Ogunremi, Ogunremi, I believe.
Okay, if Miss Ogunremi is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Doesn't appear so. Mr. Murphy?
Judge, my client and Mr. Wallace are not married. Wallace was a on again, off again boyfriend. My client resides at 3791 North Camp Creek Parkway at that house. Mr. Wallace does not. She'll certainly agree to stay away from him and not invite him over anymore. And they do not work together. They do not socialize together. But for this incident, my client's never been in trouble before, and simply my client acknowledges she had something to drink. There would have been a celebration in order, and perhaps it got a little too boisterous. But my client will certainly stay clear of Mr. Wallace and certainly will abide by any terms that you put forth as to her signature bond. And again, she does live at that location. Wallace does not live there. He was a guest of hers.
Okay, well, it's my understanding that the alleged victim is this Miss, it's this other lady that does live at the rooming house, right? Am I missing something?
What I've gotten out of the narrative is that Mr. Wallace is the one pounding on the door, and that simply my client was not cooperative when the authorities asked to speak with her on the second time. My client simply didn't open the door to her room.
Okay.
My client is employed at the airport, has no other family. Her parents are both deceased. She has a stepbrother that lives out of state, so she really has no other place to be housed in the immediate future. So again, I certainly, she's got no priors. I certainly believe that she would comply with your directives to keep the peace pending this case getting resolved.
Okay, all right. As such, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further violent contact with the alleged victim. I won't give her a stay away, but she can have no further violent contact and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, good luck to you, Ms. Thomas.
Judge, as a keeping matter, we would just again, to keep everything going, in terms of Wallace probably has a couple personal items at that rooming house. So if he should come with some sort of police or sheriff escort, but she'll have those possessions.
Okay, well, I'll make a note of that when
Yes.
Mr. Wallace one-time escort to get belongings from the rooming house.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, Mr. Murphy, anything further this afternoon?
No, that's all I have, Judge.
All right, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
I want to make sure that before you go, I want to make sure that Mr. McLean is in agreement, or doesn't have any objections to any of Miss Okaya's terms. So would you mind at least keeping her there for a moment for me until Mr. McLean comes back on the line with me?
Okay, Meg. Okay, what I'm gonna do is take the other ladies back and get the felony, or and get the ladies for felony. So I'll bring her back.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, Ms. Marshall.
Okay. And a Miss Hardage asked earlier about a Marion Green, and I don't see a Marion Green on our calendar for this afternoon. So Miss Hardage, if you're still with us, I don't.
Position 11, Your Honor, I believe.
Oh,
He's at, Union City. They haven't logged on yet.
okay. All right. So no, we haven't gotten it. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Tell me again, where are we?
Number 7, Marshall.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Marshall. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000421J with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
Judge, took time served on an ag assault in 24. He has 3 convictions for ag assault in 19 and 11. Couple of obstructions and terroristic threats. Last arrest was a probation violation 5/7/24. Nothing further.
Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we're gonna ask for a $1,000 good bond, with no further contact with Khalid Ali and to stay away from the BP at 1975 Campbellton Road in Atlanta. The facts of this case, she was working at that BP and claimed she wasn't paid in full, so she vandalized the ice cooler using pink and black paint to paint the word bitch all over it. She also poured gasoline onto the cooler and a nearby trash can. As officers were trying to, arrest her and scoot her along, she yelled that she was going to do it again as soon as she got out, because she was mad that she wasn't paid. So based on, the history, you did hear there is a bit of a violent history, 3 ag assault convictions. I also have 2 FTAs out of 2022, for ag assaults. So there's, the violence in the history, the FTAs in the history, and she said herself that she's going to reoffend. So we are asking for a $1,000 good bond. If you're not inclined to do 1,000 good, at least a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial.
Thank you. Mr. Chataya?
Your Honor, my client is not a flight risk. She is 44. She has been a lifelong resident of Georgia, and she has lived in Atlanta for the past couple of months. She's graduated high school, and she was working at the BP gas station as a housekeeper. Also, my client informed me that she is regularly seen by a social worker. Having said that, I ask for this court to consider either the lowest possible bond amount that's appropriate for her case, or if the court is willing to go so far, then signature bond.
Does she have a place to reside, Mr. Chataya? Do you know?
Yes, Your Honor. I have her address as 1890
Okay.
Myrtle Drive, Southwest, apartment 400.
And I take it that she no longer works at that BP.
Well, she informed me that leading up to the incident, she did work at the BP, but I'm not sure what the situation is right now.
I would imagine that if she done allegedly what she is said to have done, that she would have been terminated. But if she does have a job, I don't want to keep her. What I'm saying, if she does have a job, I don't want to keep her from her job, but I can't imagine that she would still have a job there. Okay, it'll be. She says what?
It was just She said no, she's not there anymore.
Oh, okay, thank you. It's gonna be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with Ms. Ali. Stay away from the BP on Campbellton Road, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Marshall. Who do we have, courtroom 2?
Position 2, Barber.
And this is your case, Mr. Chataya?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Barber, good afternoon. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0004168 with battery, family violence, theft by taking, criminal trespass, and damage to property, and terroristic threats and acts. Is there a history, Spostic?
Judge, in regards to Barber, only prior arrest is driving with a suspended license from a couple of days ago, from the 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge. On count one, battery family violence, we're asking for a $2,500 good bond. Count two, theft by taking, is a $1,000 good bond. Count three, criminal trespass, is a $1,000 good bond. And count four, terroristic threats, we're asking for $2,500 good bond. That's a $7,000 total, as well as no further contact with Armani Howard, and to stay away from 3200 Stone Road, Atlanta. And I know you normally add this, but I would also be requesting no weapons, absolutely no weapons out on bond. That's based on the facts in this case. An argument over the defendant picking up some personal items and a dispute over $500 led to this defendant trying to break in through this victim's locked windows. He in turn threw a rock through the bedroom window and through the family room windows, breaking both windows. After those windows were broken, she left her home to tell him to leave, and he began swinging at her, striking her, tackling her to the ground. He then went and retrieved his revolver from the residence and said, quote, "Yeah, bitch, I'll shoot you." He spit on her, punched her again, leaving a laceration on her face, and then the defendant fled, taking her iPhone with him. So very violent facts, leaving her with, visible injuries. There's a gun, there's an allegation of using the gun, breaking glass. For all these reasons, we're asking for that $75,000 good bond with no further contact, stay away, and absolutely no weapons out on bond.
Okay, if Miss Armani Howard is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity.
Yes,
Does she- Yes, good afternoon, Miss Howard. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
Okay, who is Mr. Barber to you, Miss Howard?
He's my boyfriend.
Okay, and what do you want to tell me about what happened?
It was a small dispute that went big. Never really violent. The gun allegation, that was just the allegation. Never seen the gun. Just a threat. And I just wanted to say that it was never violent. That's pretty much it.
Okay, so when you say that it wasn't violent, I mean, there are allegations.
I'm saying previously.
Oh, previously.
We
Okay,
never
so
have a history of violence.
okay, do you have a history of knowing that he has a revolver?
No, it was just a threat. It was just a threat made, but never seen a gun. He don't have a gun, don't own a gun. So
Okay.
I just wanted to clear that up, by the way.
Okay, and do you all live together?
Yes.
And what are your wishes as far as contact?
Like I said, it was just a small dispute that went big. I don't wish that we can't get in contact with each other. I wish that he was home.
You're telling me that this has never happened before?
Never.
Did you call the police?
Yes, because I did take his money. I had took his money. I was trying to get the money back. However, he was already here. In the midst of me trying to get the money back, I couldn't get it sent. Cash App kept bouncing back to me. And I was hiding in the house. He hurt me in the house basically because he was calling my phone. So that's when he threw the rock through the window, but it was never about, he hurt me in the house. He hurt my phone ringing as he was calling, trying to get in.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you right now, Ms. Howard, I don't think it's a good idea for you all to be around each other right now. So I'm going to order no further contact for the meantime. Anything else you want to tell me?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, I appreciate you being here this afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Jataya?
Your Honor, could I have the state's recommendation again? I thought I heard towards the end the recommendation being 75,000. So
It's a $7,000 good bond with
Okay.
2,500 for the battery and the terroristic threats and 1,000 for the other two, right, Ms. Tucker?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me, I misheard towards the end. Your Honor, my client is 23 years old. As we heard from pre-trial, he has a very clean record. He's a lifelong resident of Georgia. He is a high school graduate. And for the past 5 years, he worked as an overnight stocking manager for Walmart. And there he managed a team of employees. That's my understanding. And also, in accordance with what the victim just said, alleged victim just said, we request the court to consider either a signature bond, but if possible, then the lowest bond value that's appropriate.
Does your client have someplace besides the Stone Road address to live?
Yes. Yes, the address I have is 1680 Brewer Boulevard, Southwest Atlanta.
Okay. All right, anything further, Mr. Chataya?
Nothing further.
All right. Mr. Barber, because you don't have a record, for the battery, it'll be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For each of the other charges, it will be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of an $8,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness. No further contact at this time with Ms. Howard. Stay away from the Stone Road address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that you might have there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Just so I know that you've heard it from me, Mr. Barber, no contact means absolutely no contact. Obviously, no personal contact, no phone contact, no internet contact, no social media contact, no email contact, no contact whatsoever until you all resolve this. You understand me? All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Position number 5, Mr. Jones.
Is this your case, Mr. Chataya? Okay. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000419J with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
Judge, Mr. Jones reported to being residentially challenged, 8 cycles. He's currently on probation for discharging a firearm on public highway. Sentence 9/17/24 for 90 days, confinement 12 months. Nothing further.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we're gonna be asking for a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. I don't believe he would be a good candidate for a signature bond through the jail. With a stay away from the BP gas station at 100 Lakewood Way, Atlanta. The facts, he came to that BP after being CT'd already in July of last year, and he refused to leave after being asked 5 separate times. So I believe there is the propensity to reoffend. As well as you heard, he was out on probation. So we are asking for a $1,000 signature bond, but would ask that it's through pretrial.
Okay. Chakai?
No objection, Your Honor.
Does he have a place to get his mail, Mr. Chataya?
He does not, Your Honor. I asked him if he would accept having a social worker visit him, and he said he would.
Okay. Has he had any previous criminal trespass charges, Ms. Bostic or Ms. Tucker?
Judge, I didn't see any.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I do want him to have a social worker visit, but I also don't want to set him up for failure since he does not have any prior criminal trespasses. I will release him to through the jail. So it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, Stay away from the BP on Lakewood Way. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. And a social worker visit to assist with housing. Mr. Jones, I'm gonna let you out through the jail, but if you go back to that BP and they report it again, I'm not gonna let you out next time. And you're gonna have to make sure that you show up for your next court hearing. Otherwise, they're gonna put a warrant out for you. So you need to stay in touch with the court so that you know when your next hearing's gonna be. Okay? Good luck to you, sir.
Everyone else are clients, so we're standing by waiting for him.
Okay, let's see. Miss Champion, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
He's been in there for a while. Would you go in and check on him for me and let him know that all of the cases that are left are his?
Okay, yes, sir.
Mr. McLean, thank you. Okay, we'll have to be in recess until Mr. McLean rejoins us.
I'm back, Your Honor.
Okay, we've just gone to check on Mr. McLean, so the rest of the cases are his. So as soon as he comes out of that breakout room, I will confirm with him, okay? So if you'll
Okay.
just,
This is what I would like to do, if you don't mind, and please forgive me, Your Honor. I'm gonna log off. I'm gonna log on on the computer in my office, and I have. So when you're ready for the young Miss Brown, I will bring her in the office. But
okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, Your Honor, it has been a.
Okay. Okay, it looks like he's back, so
Okay,
let's,
great.
Mr. McLean,
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to rush you, so I want you to take all the time that you find necessary, but I just wanted to let you know that the rest of the cases on the calendar are yours.
I think we've got as far as we can go, Your Honor. I think we're ready.
Okay, so first I want to start with position number 8. We got through, this is Miss O'Key, I believe she is your client, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, unfortunately, we got all the way through her case, and let me, on this matter, if no objection from you, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1 on each charge, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. She's to have no further contact with the alleged victims and stay away from the incident location, a one-time escort to retrieve any belongings, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Is that satisfactory with you?
That's fine. I believe she does not live at that location, so I don't think she has any belongings there.
Okay, all right. I
Is
just
that
want out of an
correct?
abundance. Okay,
Yes.
so if that's okay with you, that's what the court's decision was. Okay?
Thank
Your
you.
Honor,
Oh,
Yes.
her children's stuff are there, and her stuff is at the location.
Okay. As such, she can have that one-time police court escort. Okay? Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Officer Milton. Let's see. And who do we have in courtroom 1?
that's us.
Who do we have there?
That's me and Mr. Velazquez.
Okay.
Position
And
15, Your Honor.
thank you, Ms. Chancey.
You're
That's what I was
welcome.
trying to get to. If you raise your right hand for me,
Yes, sir.
do you swear or affirm that you will translate from Spanish to English and English to Spanish to the best of your ability?
I do, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Velasquez. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000422G with loitering and prowling, criminal trespass, and giving false information to law enforcement.
Buenas tardes, señor Velázquez. Usted, en su caso 25 CR 000422G, ha sido acusado por haraganear y merodear, por allanamiento de morada y por entrega de información falsa a la autoridad.
Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
¿Hay antecedentes Señora Bostic.
Which number 6?
This is position number 15, Mr. Velasquez.
No prior arrest history, Judge. If you choose to release him, we suggest UJR jail.
No hay arrestos anteriores, su señoría. Si usted decide ponerlo en libertad, nosotros recomendamos una fianza bajo firma.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 25th of January at about 9:15 p.m.
Señora Allen, bueno, sí, su señoría, este es un incidente desde el 25 de enero, más o menos a las 9:15 de la noche.
Police were called to 815 Myrtle Street in Roswell.
La policía fue llamada al 815 de Myrtle Street en Roswell.
The victim in this case, his name is Aldo Almieda.
El nombre de la víctima en este caso es Aldo Almieda.
And he lives at apartment 2J there with his family.
Él vive en el apartamento 2J y con su familia.
When police came to the location, they were expecting to talk to Mr. Almieda about a suspicious person who was trying to enter his residence.
Cuando la policía llegó al lugar, ellos estaban esperando hablar con el señor Almieda sobre una persona sospechosa que estaba tratando de entrar en su residencia.
On scene, the defendant was still holding on to and trying to get into the screen door window area.
En el lugar, el acusado estaba todavía sosteniendo y tratando de entrar a través de la pantalla metálica en el área, en el área de la ventana.
He was described as heavily intoxicated.
Fue descrito como estando muy ebrio.
The victim, Mr. Almieda, reported that the defendant trying to get into his window and repeatedly shoving his body weight against the door made him fearful for himself and his family inside the location.
La víctima, el señor Almieda, informó que el acusado trató de entrar por la ventana y repetidamente empujando su cuerpo contra ella, contra el marco de la puerta, lo que asustó mucho a la víctima y a la familia dentro del lugar.
The defendant had been told by the victim multiple times and in a forceful manner to leave and to stop trying to enter the property, and he just refused to leave and stop what he was doing.
El acusado, se le había dicho al acusado que se retirara múltiples veces y de manera muy severa para que se fuera y dejara de tratar de entrar en la propiedad. Y él simplemente se rehusó a ir y dejar de hacer lo que estaba haciendo.
When police made contact with the defendant and removed him from the actual door that he wouldn't let go of belonging to the victim, he refused to provide information about his identification. And when he did, he gave a false date of birth. And he was arrested, Your Honor. We're asking for a $2,500 SOB through pretrial, no contact whatsoever with the victim, Aldo Almieda, or anyone in his family, to stay away from that location, apartment 2J at 815 Myrtle Street, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Cuando la policía contactó al acusado, y que dejara la puerta que estaba sosteniendo, no se rehusó. También se rehusó a proveer la información de su identificación y cuando lo hizo, dio una información falsa sobre la fecha de nacimiento y así fue arrestado. Su señoría, estamos solicitando una fianza bajo firma de $2.500 a través de la cárcel y no tener contacto alguno con la víctima, el señor Almieda, y a ninguno los miembros de su familia y que permanezca distanciado de ese lugar, el apartamento 2J.
And I believe Mr. Almeida is here on the Zoom if you would call for him. Thank you.
Creo que el señor Almeida está aquí en la plataforma, si lo llama. Señor Almeida, si por favor puede prender su cámara y su micrófono para si desea hablar.
Mr. Amira would like to address the court. Now is his opportunity. He'll have to unmute himself for me.
Señor
he chooses.
Almeida, si usted quisiera dirigirse a este juez, esta es su oportunidad. Solamente tiene que prender el micrófono y dirigirse hacia a mí. Señor Almeida.
Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Velasquez has worked for Eddie's Painting out of Canton, Georgia, with a
El
small
señor McLean. Sí, el señor Velázquez ha trabajado para Eddie's Painting en Canton, Georgia,
with a small shop in the Roswell area.
con un negocio pequeño en el área de Roswell.
We would ask the court to consider a signature bond because, for one thing, he doesn't have the phone number that's in his phone, and without a signature bond, he's just stuck.
Quisiéramos solicitar a su señoría que considere una fianza bajo firma. Por una parte, él no tiene su teléfono, los números de teléfono, y sin una fianza bajo firma, él va a estar perdido, trabado aquí.
I have instructed him that when he gets away from this jail, no matter when it is or what day, he will go to J150 at 160 Prior.
Yo lo he instruido que cuando sea que salga de la cárcel, que vaya al J150 en el 160 de Prior Street.
And I've instructed him that if possible, he should bring someone who speaks English, and if possible, he should bring identification. But at any rate, he must, without fail, upon leaving this building, go to that room.
Yo le he instruido a él que si es posible, él regrese con alguien que hable inglés. Si es posible, que traiga una identificación. Pero en cualquiera sea el caso, él debe, sin motivo alguno que lo detenga, presentarse en el edificio.
So considering the lack of prior arrests and the nature of the crime alleged, I would like to ask the court for a signature bond.
Y considerando que él no tiene arrestos previos y la naturaleza de la alegación del delito, quisiera solicitar al señor juez una fianza bajo firma solamente.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Each charge, it will be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, which makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Cada cargo serán $1,000 de fianza bajo firma, lo que hace un total de $3,000 de fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio.
No further contact with Mr. Aldo Almeida and stay away from his residence at 815 Myrtle Street, apartment 2J.
No tener ningún contacto alguno con el señor Aldo Almeida y mantenerse alejado de la residencia de él, el 815 Myrtle Street, el apartamento 2J.
No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté libre bajo fianza.
Good luck to you, sir.
Suerte, señor.
Thank you.
Welcome. Is there another person in courtroom 1 that requires, Madam Interpreter?
¿Hay alguien? Oye, one more.
I think Mr. Chutaya has a Mr. Lagunas. Have y'all spoken?
We haven't spoken yet.
Let me get out of the way here. Going back to closing. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so if Mr. Lagunas, so we'll place you, Mr. Chatai, into the breakout room with Ms. Chansey in courtroom 1, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Go from there, what you do.
Position number,
Judge, who did she just say position number what?
Didn't hear. Say,
number 10.
Thank you.
okay. Is Mr. McLean making his way back to courtroom 2?
I'm not sure. Hold on, let me check.
He represents you?
Yeah. It's last 3 right here. Okay, Mr. McLean is available.
Okay, and this is Mr. Quavy, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. Sir, you've been charged in case 25 CR 0004291 with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
This is Mr. Quivy.
Yes.
Reason why I was asking is because we have given false name. But okay, multi-state offender, Judge, 13 cycles in Pennsylvania, 2 in New Jersey, 1 in Florida, 15 in Georgia. He has 2 holds, 1 for contempt of court. No, 1 hold is 1 for contempt of court. He has misdemeanor theft by receiving stolen property and 24 theft by shoplifting. He's on probation for robbery and criminal damage. Sentence 222-24, 1 year confinement, 4 years probation. He has 3 open cases for theft by shoplifting. 2 in Fulton, 24 PI 008821, 24 SC 006410, and 1 out of the cab. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. His most recent bond on that 24 PI case out of felony court is from November. His bond was given to him in December. He's actually got 2 UJRs in those 2 open cases in felony court for shopliftings. The most recent one, he's ordered to stay away from the City Gear, which is a location off of Old National Highway. And he's supposed to have an ankle monitor and violate no laws, to have a 24-hour home confinement as well, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. This case occurred on the 26th, Your Honor. So yesterday, January, at about 11:55 a.m., he was located in the street, wandering in the roadway at Bethany Bend and Highway 9 in Milton. That's an intersection. Officer Pishock, Pishock, observed him and tried to render aid. He was described as intoxicated. He repeatedly refused verbal commands. Police called to try to get him some medical assistance through EMS. He refused to provide his name or any information, actually. Eventually, he did provide a false name, but that name wasn't listed in the warrant. And so I submitted an NOD for false information and submitted an accusation for obstruction, Your Honor. He was eventually arrested. It sounds like, just based on his criminal history, he's got history out of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Florida, and Georgia. Substantial history for similar many thefts, many assaults. And he's got those 2 open cases you just heard about, and he's on probation. So we're asking for $1,000 surety, Your Honor. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. We'd ask for a social worker visit.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, he does need a social worker visit. I've got a phone number for someone on Hillendale and Lithonia. I'm trying to reach that number. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond. If the court does grant a signature bond, he'll go to the Hillendale address that's shown in Odyssey. But otherwise, we would $1,000 surety bond. Ask the court to consider the
And Mr. McLean, does he have an ankle monitor on for that felony case?
I haven't looked.
Ms. Allen, would you mind putting in the chat to Ms. Bridgewater those 2 open, are
Yes.
they open in state court?
In felony court, he's got 2 open felony cases.
Okay, so he has nothing in state court though. Okay.
Judge, yeah, because that's why I was confused. There is another case for the, what is it? The giving false name. There's a $600 bond on his booking for that.
So I submitted an NOD through the system to the jail staff, and we've moved forward with an obstruction charge.
Okay.
All right, so it's gonna be a $500 good bond, a social worker visit, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Your Honor, what position is this?
Position number 10.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 12 is Mr. Simpson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Simpson. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000424E with 2 counts of simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
2 prior arrests, both of them are convictions for DUI in 2016 and 15. Nothing further.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. You just heard this defendant has
You went to mute, Ms. Allen.
I apologize. Thank you. You just heard this defendant has 2 prior DUIs. This incident is actually, excuse me, from the 15th of January, I believe. Police were called to 11012 Gardner Drive in Alpharetta. They were called when a 12-year-old little boy called 911. The police were, it's actually January the 25th, I apologize, not the 15th. In the documents from the police, it notes that this young man knew to call 911 because his mom has a code phrase that she uses in an emergency to let him know she's in danger and to call for help. And that's important, Your Honor, because a young child who's 12 years old with this man in their home should not have to have a code word with his mom about when to call 911. So police were called and notified that there was a dispute and that there were multiple children in the home. On scene, they could hear this defendant screaming from inside the location there at 11012 Gardner Drive. They did a knock and talk, and the victim, her name is Heather Binette, Binette. She answered the door, and she was holding their infant in her arms. The defendant was seen in the kitchen behind her in the residence. He was asked to step outside, and once they were separated, it's noted that the defendant made statements to police, but they were described as confusing and not really on point as far as what they were asking him. Police spoke to Heather. She reported that this is an ongoing issue. The defendant becomes violent and enraged. She describes him as manic. She says that he's medicated, but she does not believe those medications help him. She says she's called 911 previously, but every time she calls, he's left by the time police are there. So thankfully, they had a code word, and her 12-year-old could call, and he was still there when police arrived. So on the scene with this young man's infant and the 12-year-old that this lady has in the home, she reported that during an argument, as he was yelling at her repeatedly on this date, he then grabbed her by her face to force her to look at him instead of at the infant she was holding in her arms. And then he put both hands on the chair, on the arms of the chair she was sitting in, holding their young child, and he spit in her face. That's when her 12-year-old called the police. And that ongoing incident was still going on when police got there. They could literally hear this defendant screaming. On scene, the defendant admitted he spit in Heather's face. A mental health unit was requested and came to the location to evaluate the defendant, but he refused their services and refused to cooperate. He was then arrested. We did reach out to Mrs. Heather Bennett today. She reports that they share this child, that they are in a relationship and they live together, that this is not a new situation, that this is ongoing, and she wants him to have a mental health evaluation. She's asked for him to return home, but Your Honor, in the state's position at this point, someone should be looking out for the infant and the 12-year-old who did not choose this and should not have to endure this. So we're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor. That's $1,000 for each of the counts. To stay away from that location, again, the address is 11012 Gardner Drive in Alpharetta. Have no contact with Heather Bennett, Binettete, or any of her children. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we are requesting no drugs, alcohol, or weapons for a reason, and a mental health evaluation, and follow through with any of the recommendations that are made. Thank you.
Ms. Heather Bennett is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so.
When we spoke to her, she was at work. I'm not sure she is able to join us on the Zoom today.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McLean?
Thank you, Your Honor. His mother is on the line. I think that's basically to confirm one thing I'm going to ask about, which is if Your Honor were to grant him a signature bond, let me say a few things about him. His job has been at I Smile Dentistry as a receptionist. He went to Georgia Tech for a year in mathematics. He hasn't finished that yet, but we'll get back to college later. He has a high school education. He could live with his mother if Your Honor deems it necessary for him not to be at that address. So I would ask the court to consider a signature bond. I explained to him that normally the alleged victim would have to be on before the no further violent contact would be really a possible ask for me. But Your Honor, if you could give him a signature bond, he will go live with his mother, which is elsewhere. And he is an educated person who does work.
Okay. For each charge, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Heather Bennett. Stay away from the Gardner Drive address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. Want him to have a social worker visit, and he can have it while he's out to assess for a BHET, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Who do we have next? Do we take the interpreter case next?
Yes, go back to courtroom 1.
Okay. And this is position number 6, Mr. Lagoons, is that correct?
Esta es la posición 3, el señor Lagunas. ¿correcto?
So good afternoon, Mr. Lagunas. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000-420Y with 3 counts of battery family violence and 1 count of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree.
Buenas tardes, señor Lagunas. Usted ha sido acusado en el caso 25 CR 000-420Y con 3 cargos de golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar y 1 por crueldad ante un menor en el 3er grado.
Is there a history, Ms.
Hay,
Bostic?
hay antecedentes, señora Bosnick.
Only prior arrest is a driver out of valid license in 2015. Nothing further.
Solamente un arresto anterior por manejar sin licencia en el año 2015.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we'll be asking for a $2,000 bond on 2 of the battery family violences.
Señora Tucker, sí, su señoría, vamos a solicitar $2,000 de fianza en 2 de los cargos de golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar.
That's 2,000 on each of those. On the 3rd battery family violence, I'll be asking for a $1,000 good bond.
Va a ser $2,000 de fianza por cada uno de esos 2 cargos y por el tercer cargo de golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar, solicitamos $1,000 de fianza.
And on the cruelty to children, a $1,000 good bond for a total of $6,000.
Y por el cargo de crueldad ante un menor será una fianza de $1,000 por un total de $6,000 de fianza.
With additional terms, no further contact with Leticia Garcia, Andres Lagunas Garcia, or the unnamed juvenile child.
Con condiciones adicionales, no tener más contacto alguno con Leticia García, Andrés Lagunas García y por el menor sin nombrar.
And to stay away from 55 Northwood Drive, apartment 44 in Sandy Springs.
Y debe mantenerse alejado del 55 Northwood Drive de apartamento 44 en Sandy Springs.
The facts of this case allege that the defendant physically attacked victim Leticia Garcia, so she Ubered home.
Los hechos en este caso alegan que el acusado atacó físicamente a la víctima Leticia García, lo que hizo que la víctima tomara el servicio de Uber para volver a la casa.
Once at the home, the defendant refused to let her in until she did what he wanted.
Una vez que estuvo en la residencia, el acusado no le permitió entrar hasta que ella hiciera lo que él quería.
When she finally came in, he attacked her again, biting her, leaving her with a visible bruise on her chest.
Cuando ella finalmente entró, él la atacó dejándole una marca visible o moretón en el pecho.
He also grabbed her arm so hard she had a visible bruise on her arm.
También la sujetó fuertemente que le dejó un moretón visible en el brazo de ella.
The defendant's son, Andres Lagunas Garcia, stepped in to protect his mother, and he received a bloody nose.
El hijo del acusado, Andrés Lagunas, intervino para proteger a su madre y él recibió una herida en la nariz sangrante.
And this all occurred in the presence of their 15-year-old son.
Y esto ocurrió en presencia del hijo de 15 años.
So based on the violence alleged in the facts, we're asking for that $6,000 good bond.
Debido a la naturaleza violenta alegada en estos hechos, estamos pidiendo $6,000 de fianza.
And if we could sound for the victims, I believe we have Mr. Lagunas Garcia here.
Si podemos llamar a las víctimas, creo que el señor Laguna García está aquí. Señor Lagunas García, si está en la plataforma, por favor prenda su micrófono y pantalla para poder hablar con el señor juez.
Doesn't appear so, Ms. Tucker.
No parece, señora Tucker.
Okay. Nothing further.
Nada más.
Mr. Chataya?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is originally from Mexico. He is 42 years old, but he has lived in Atlanta since at least 2001. So it's been about 23 years that he's been here. He currently works for a glass company called Diamond Glass, and he installs glass for indoor for offices, for office buildings.
Su señoría, mi cliente es originario de México y él tiene 42 años de edad, pero ha vivido en Atlanta desde el 2001, entonces ha estado aquí 23 años y él actualmente trabaja para una compañía de instalación de vidrio llamada Diamond Glass y él instala estos vidrios dentro de las oficinas en el edificio.
My client informs me that he has 2 children he takes care of.
Él me informó que tiene 2 hijos a los que cuida.
I would like to emphasize for the court again that apart from the driving without a license charge from 2015, my client has a clean record.
Quisiera enfatizar, su señoría, de nuevo que aparte de una infracción de manejar sin licencia desde el 2015, mi cliente tiene un récord limpio.
Given his length of stay in Atlanta and his clean criminal record, we ask for the lowest bond possible.
Dado a la duración del tiempo que ha vivido en Atlanta y por tener un récord limpio, pedimos por la fianza más baja posible.
Okay. For each of the battery family violence charges, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the cruelty to children, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $7,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Para cada uno de los cargos de golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar, va a ser $2,000 de fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio en el nivel 1. Para la crueldad ante un menor, $1,000 de fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio nivel 1. Esto da un total de $7,000 de fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio.
Contact with the alleged victims. Stay away from the Northwood Drive address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings.
No tener ningún contacto con las víctimas alegadas, mantenerse distanciado de la dirección de Northwood Drive y él puede regresar solo una vez a esa dirección con un oficial de la fuerza del orden para retirar cualquiera de sus pertenencias personales.
No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté libre bajo fianza.
Good luck to you, sir.
Buena suerte, señor.
Next is petition number 11 at Union City, South Annex, Mr. Rashad.
Thank you, Ms. Chancey. I appreciate you being here this afternoon.
You're very welcome, sir. Have a good evening.
You do the same.
Thank you.
Good
Position number
afternoon.
11 is also green, Your Honor.
Okay, yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Rashad Green. Let's see. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're completing by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're giving you the opportunity to use a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000425J with contributing to the delinquency of a minor and interference with custody. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
Judge, in regards to defendant, only prior arrest was 12/13/24 for a similar charge, interference with custody. And it was not on docket 24 MAGC 07000. That offense date was 12/12/24.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you. So
Judge,
Your
I'm
Honor,
sorry to interrupt. It's the same individual.
Okay, thank you.
So, Your Honor, this young man in December was arrested for the same charge related to the same young woman. That charge was NOD'd by someone during first appearance. So here he is again. This charge has not been NOD'd. It is the same young lady. This incident started on January the 20th of this year. Police responded to 1514 North Park Lane in Milton. There they met with Elizabeth Hardage, who's the mother of a young woman. She's a 15-year-old minor, initials MH. She reported that her daughter had snuck out and run away, that she has run away before, and she has run away before with her boyfriend. She gave police the name, information, and address for the young man who she believes her daughter to be with at that time. Police relocated to that young man's address, and that's Mr. Marion Rashad Green at 106 Sterling Court in Alpharetta. There they spoke with the defendant. He was explained to by police that they were looking for the young woman that had been found with him previously in December. He said he didn't know where she was. He did not give police permission to enter his residence to look for her. He told police lies saying that they'd broken up and he hadn't seen her and he didn't have anything to do with her anymore. Police then got notice that the victim, this young woman, the juvenile, was seen with the defendant on the 21st. They made contact with the defendant again and went to that location where they saw the defendant and the victim arrive at that location together on the 22nd. The police engaged Mr. Green and asked him about why he hadn't explained what was going on when they spoke to him previously. He didn't have an answer. They asked why he hadn't reported this young lady since she had been reported as a juvenile runaway and he'd already been arrested for contributing to her delinquency and interfering with the custody of her. And while police were talking to him, the young woman said, "I told him not to call the police." So ostensibly for the second time in just a few months, you've got this 17-year-old young man allowing this young woman to run away, harboring her in his residence, lying to police about it, and interfering with the custody of her when he knows that police are looking for her and her mother has reported her as a runaway. We did speak to Mrs. Hardage today. She says she has no ill will towards this young man, but he keeps breaking into her home and having sex with her daughter. And he refuses to stop having contact with her daughter, Your Honor. The young woman in question has 3 complaints in juvenile court, of one as recently as this past week related to her running away again. The state is not clear about what Mr. Hardage's situation is, as he is 17. But this is the second time. These are multiple offenses that this young man has committed related to the same situation. And he was obviously given an opportunity the last time he came through our office in December to maybe figure out the right way to behave. And he just has decided not to do that. Ms. Hartage is here. I know she had to appear in juvenile court today with her daughter. And this creates a substantial hardship for a mom who is trying to keep her child safe. We're asking for a $5,000 surety, Your Honor, $2,500 on each of the charges. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, to stay away from the juvenile, initials MH, to stay away from her residence. Again, that's 1514 North Park Lane in Milton, Georgia. No contact with her or her mother. And we would require or request that the court require an adult cosigner. And if he is enrolled in school, attendance in school, a curfew when not in school or not working, and some information about who his guardians are at this point and who lives at 106 Sterling. If you'd
And am I allowed to talk or say something?
You can give me 1 second. And if you'd sound for Mrs. Hartage, she's here on the Zoom. Thank you.
Ms. Hartage, if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity. I need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You can place your hand down. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, obviously they're 15 and 17. I'm not trying to ruin his life. I've tried to be very understanding because I was a teenager once. I get it. My biggest thing is, and I've had conversations with him. Me and him have spoken, and it's just the continuing of the disrespect, the sneaking into my home, the having sex in my home. And mind you, my daughter's not innocent. She's been in this too. I don't think his parents are involved because at that 106, he's just really jumping from couch to couch, and it maybe I shouldn't feel bad, but I do feel bad for him because it doesn't seem like his parents are too much involved in his life. I do know that he has a job at Target. He is working. I just want him to stay away from my house. I just want him to. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't want to ruin his life, but he needs. I hate that it had to come to this, but I need him to just stop, or there's nothing I can do.
Ms. Hartage, were you here the last time that he was before the court?
I didn't know anything
no,
about it.
I was just wondering if you had were here at that point in time. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you being here, Ms. Hartage.
Okay.
And Ms. Allen, do you have anything about that previous? Was it NOD?
It was NOD'd by a supervisor over the weekend. It would not have been NOD'd if it were me, Your Honor, and it won't be NOD'd today.
So it didn't make it before a judge?
You got it.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. Mr. McLean, is this your case?
It is, Your Honor. He is, Mr. Rashad Green is 17 years old. He has worked at Target, Walmart, McDonald's. He graduated from school online about a year ago. And he spent some time with his dad, and he was looking for another job there when he was with his dad. Considering the allegations and considering his education and working, his job history, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond here, Your Honor. He will be living with relatives. He's got an uncle, mom, dad, between those three. I don't think he's going to go back to his dad's house. I don't think that worked out that great, but I think he'll be living with someone else.
Okay, I'm gonna need to know where he's gonna live and who he's gonna live with, Mr. McLean.
Right. I left information with his relatives about zooming in and chatting to us an email, to which we could email one of those forms, but I don't think they're on right now. They may be at work.
Okay. Ms. Bridgewater, are you with me?
Yes, sir, I am.
Instead of holding him until the February 11th calendar, I want to put him on my calendar on February 4th, if you would.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. McLean, I would like for you to see if you can reach out to his parents or whomever he's gonna stay with. He's gonna need an adult co-signer if I'm
Right.
going to let him out. So I'm willing to not make him stay in for 2 weeks, but until the 4th. If you can make sure that you get it to your attorneys in the SAP and that don't let this fall through the cracks, okay? I want someone there at the SAP calendar that can talk with me about this young man, okay?
I did emphasize to his family, Your Honor, that as soon as they fill out the form, if we just had an email for them, that as soon as they complete the form and click that it's completed, it automatically goes to the right people. It's not like there's a whole lot of going back with the form.
Well, no, I'm not letting him out. I need to talk to them, okay?
Right.
I'm just not gonna let a co-signer come. I want to see them myself, okay? So they're gonna have to get on the Zoom call and talk to me if I'm gonna release him through pretrial. Okay, but as far as today goes, I'm gonna take up the state's recommendation. And it's going to be $2,500 good bond per charge, makes for a total of a $5,000 good bond. No further contact with the minor MH. Stay away from Miss Hartage's address on North Park Lane. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. And when I see him and I'm going to put on this one, he's to be released to an adult co-signer. But if he has an adult co-signer come to SAP, I'm willing to look into a signature bond through pretrial if I can talk to somebody, okay?
Right, thank you.
All right, you got that, Ms. Bridgewater?
I have it, yes, sir.
Okay, so Ms. Hartage, and Mr. Green, if he does not get out by the 4th, I'm gonna see him again personally and hopefully speak with with an adult in this regard.
Excuse me.
Okay,
Can I have someone come like earlier than the 4th? You talk to them.
well, that's the next calendar that I have, Mr. Green, so if
No, that's what he's saying. He's saying if you have an adult come up there and talk to him, you could get out before the 4th, but you have to have an adult come up there.
So I could have them come up today or tomorrow.
well, the thing is that I'm giving you a good bond, which means you're gonna have to pay some money to get out, okay? So even if you have an adult co-signer, they're gonna have to pay some money. If they come back on the 4th and there's somebody there, then I may consider a signature bond where they don't have to pay to get you out. But I need to talk for me to do that. I want to talk to whoever it is that's going to be your guardian, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so
Your Honor,
if
would
you
you
don't,
entertain a curfew or any kind of requirement about what this young man is doing with his time? Because essentially what you've just heard is that he's going to find a adult, so a brother or an uncle, to just come sign paperwork, and he's not being monitored or supervised, and he's 17 years old. We haven't
Okay.
heard a single name about any relative who's responsible for this young man.
I want to hear more, Ms. Allen, about what he's doing. And yes, I'll impose a curfew on him, but I would need for him to find where he's going to live and really talk to somebody. I'm hoping that he's not going to get out to the 4th, but I want to give somebody that opportunity so that he doesn't have to just sit there.
I absolutely understand. Thank you.
Okay, so that's why I'm also trying to push it up from from when it would normally be. All right. So Mr. McLean, please pass this along. Sometimes when I request something, it doesn't get passed along, and I have to start back at square one when I get to the SAP calendar. But if you'll pass it, make sure to pass this along and start working on this so that I can address this young man when he comes back before me. Okay.
Yep.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Green. Who do we have next?
We have position number 16, Mr. Wallace.
Okay, this is that co-defendant case. Good afternoon, Mr. Wallace. Let's see, you've been charged in case 25 CR 0000427H with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers and disorderly conduct. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
Just a second, trying to click on it. In regards to Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
yeah, 17 cycles, couple of FTAs in 24 and 21. Took plea on misdemeanor obstruction 9/19/24. Simple battery and theft by taking 2 counts in 22, disorderly conduct in 22. Last arrest was the FTA 72/24. Nothing further.
Alan?
So, Your Honor, you heard the facts of this case, and defense counsel, conflict counsel represented that the co-defendant, Mrs. Thomas, in position 14, is the person who invited this defendant over, and that he's a former boyfriend, and it's his behavior that was the problem. I would note that his last conviction was not just an obstruction, but a terroristic threats that was disposed of in September of 2024. He has many convictions for simple battery and obstruction, and criminal trespass and giving false information, all the way back to 2002, harassing phone calls, disorderly conduct, DUIs, just generally being a menace. So we've got a young woman, Mrs. Rachel, and I'm going to say her name again, Ogun Remy, who is living at the location 3791 North Camp Creek Parkway Southwest, having to call the police, who come multiple times and tell this defendant that he needs to leave her alone and leave the location. He is highly intoxicated and he does not leave the location. And when police have to come back, the woman who's invited in there, Mrs. Thomas, closes the door to her bedroom or resident. I'm not sure if this is a rooming house, and refuses to answer the door. So we're asking for a $3,000 surety to stay away from that location, have absolutely no contact with the victim, Mrs. Ongan Remy. Her first name is Rachel, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, Your Honor. We'd also ask for no contact with co-defendant Thomas in position 14.
Mr. McLean, is this your case? Courtroom 2?
Yes, we're just trying to sort out who he belongs to.
Your Honor, Mr. Thomas was arrested, Mr. Wallace was arrested along with Ms. Thomas, who's at ACDC.
We've already dealt with Ms. Thomas's case earlier
They totally got that backwards, because I'm the person who first interviewed Ms. Thomas. I'll go ahead with Mr. Wallace then, Your Honor, if I might have a moment to get his job and education.
Okay, do you all want to finish the calendar and then you come back to him, or do you?
I think that would be best, yes.
Okay, so why don't we, we'll be back, Mr. Wallace. Can we just take whomever we have next?
Well, that was the last one, position 1 posted bond.
Okay, so position Avante has been released, okay, and the other?
Position 13 was a medical reset.
Okay, position 13 medically reset until 1/28 tomorrow. All right, so I guess we'll take a brief recess while Mr. McLean interviews Mr. Wallace. Let us know, Mr. McLean. All right, we'll be in recess.
All I have to do is tell the educated hard worker, it's all good.
We ready to proceed, Mr. McClary?
We are.
Okay. All right, I don't know if you need it for Ms. Allen to repeat anything. Are you ready for your presentation?
I remember the facts of the case, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, he's 40 years old, Mr. Wallace. Danielle Wallace is 40 years old. He has a stable address on Ben Hill. It's a house. Gets good mail service there. Tri-Cities High School graduate of 2002. And he works temp services to get construction jobs. And basically, that's a matter of stamina and determination. You get out there every day, and he does that. So we would ask the court to consider a signature bond for him, Your Honor.
Okay, on each charge, it'll be a $500 good bond, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No further contact with the alleged victim. Also, no further contact with Ms. Thomas. Stay away from the North Camp Creek Parkway address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Wallace. Okay, I believe that completes the 2 o'clock calendar. Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you're ready for us.
Okay. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is February the 11th. Position number 1 is reset further notice as the defendant has been released. Position number 2 is reset further notice with a total $8,000 SOB through pretrial. 3 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 4, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 5 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. 6, reset further notice with a total $7,000 SOB through pretrial. 7, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 9, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 10 is going to the SAP calendar, February the 11th. 11 is going to the SAP calendar, February the 4th, with a total $5,000 good bond. 12, reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 13 is medically reset till tomorrow. 14, reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through pretrial. 15, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. And 16 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
No, thank you.
Okay, good. If not, I will see you all tomorrow. Y'all have a good rest of your night.
You
All
too.
right.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.